Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
Here we are. It's our turn, and 11:06 is the time. I'm Dave Adams, Valley Talk, and of course it is tax time. Some tax tips from our good friends at H&R Block. Robert White, enrolled tax agent. Glad to have you with us once again on Valley Talk, and of course our average investment guy, Joe Smith.
John Doe.
Bob.
John Doe.
Yeah.
John Gibson with us today.
I've been called a lot worse. So
have I. So we do want to remind you that, of course, tax day is April 15th, and it's going to be on a Monday.
Yes, it is.
This year. And we are going to have Robert back in the studios again. Now, what we've been doing in the last couple of months, is we've been having Robert in the studio the first and third Tuesdays of the month. But if you're looking at April, the third Tuesday is the 16th, which is the day after April 15th. So we're going to change it up. And Robert, on April 2nd and the 9th are the next appearances that he'll have on Valley Talk. And that's the first two Tuesdays in April as you come down to the wire, so to speak, on your taxes. And don't forget to file. It's very, very important you file, isn't it, Robert?
Oh, yes. There's two types of penalties, just roughly speaking, and the one for not filing is much worse than the one for not paying.
There is no more debtor's prison with it close.
Well,
they'll take your stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yes, they will.
One of the things we want to talk about today is estimated taxes and why do we make quarterly payments. And we were joking about this before Valley Talk, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. First of all, we do want to remind you that Quiznos Taste on Us is a big sponsor of Valley Talk, and we're giving away a $10 certificate at the end of every show, including today. And you can sign up for that by sending me an email at dave@kgal.com or calling the station at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. Say you're interested in Quiznos Taste on Us, and at the end of the show, we're going to pull a name out, and that person will get a $10 certificate, good for any some sandwiches, drinks, chips, anything at Quiznos in Albany, next to Novak's Restaurant and across the parking lot from the G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location, former G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location. Thanks to Dale and the crew for being a part of the Valley Talk family here on KGAL. So we do want you to start submitting your entries now for that. Estimated taxes. We were joking before the show, and I was joking. I said, you know what? I don't want to send Uncle Sam any money before I absolutely have to. And I've never, ever thought about making quarterly payments just because there's something inside of me that says, man, you're taking too much of my money as it is. I am not going to give it any earlier than I've got to. And that's why a lot of people wait until April 15th to file if they have to pay. But let's talk about quarterly payments.
Yeah, this has come up in a lot of times, the same situation. I'll go through a return, and we get to the end, and perhaps someone owes, and I'll talk about levels, but they owe more than they anticipate, like well over $1,000, and they'll see a small penalty in there. And I'll explain, well, that's a penalty for underpayment of taxes. And I said, you might want to pay quarterlies or estimated taxes. And I say, why would I want to do that? Just as you said.
Yeah.
It goes back to the basic concept. Our tax system, whether you agree or not, is a pay-as-you-go system. You are paying your taxes as you go along. And the way to think of it is the filing of your return at the end of the year is a reconciliation of your books. You're going through the year, and at the end of the year, you're going to reconcile your books, clear it up, and move forward. And most people are paying as they go. They don't really. That's what withholding is. There's two ways of doing this. You can you have withholding on your paychecks. Most employees have this. A lot of pensions will withhold. If you're one of those people that make a major killing at the casino, they withhold. So
right away.
Yes, you don't walk out the door without that being withheld. And so whoever's withholding the money makes the payment to the IRS in your name. That's withholding. So you are paying as you go along. Unfortunately, sometimes if you have a lot of passive income, John and I were talking that passive is rentals or dividend income or stock transactions. More often than not, there isn't any withholding, but you will owe taxes on at the end of the year. And so that sometimes leads to an estimated tax.
What's the trigger for underpayment?
Briefly or simply, there's a general rule, and I'll go in more detail. But generally, if you owe more than $1,000, when you reconcile your books, which is file your return, if you are paying more than $1,000 at that time, there's quite likely there'll be a penalty. The penalty is not very large, but still there'll be a penalty. So that's the trigger, and I'll get into more details on that. It's called the general rule.
Let's talk about that in just a moment. Now, typically, and I neglect to do the first part of the show, what we like to do is like to talk to John Gibson about the big news in the stock market. Right now, it's big news in Europe. I believe it's Cyprus.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little tiny country of 1 million people are controlling the world's market right now.
Isn't that amazing? But let's tax bank deposits.
Well, since we're talking tax, if you don't give it to them estimated, they'll find another way. Here's what happened in Cyprus, okay? Over the weekend, they were talking to Russia and other big countries, and they said, if you guys go in and tax at least 6% for the poor people, but 10% for the more well-to-do people on their bank deposits, then we will give you bailout money and save you. And so the state-run media didn't say nothing. What happened was a few people started tweeting about it. And they're going, I can't believe they're going to charge our deposits. And it turned out there was going to be a run on the bank on Monday morning. So they came out and said, okay, the banks are closed till Thursday. The last I heard, you can still not go down to an ATM and get any money out. So if you have in Cyprus, if you have no money in your pocket, you're in trouble. Now they're talking about the finance minister going to Russia tonight with his hand out. And Russia's response is, well, you have a lot of offshore resources that we're interested in, so maybe we can work a deal. So what I've been trying to tell people for years now is that we're spending ourselves into a problem. And this is a very good situation where China could come over at us and say, we own about 10 billion of your debt, and, we're not really interested in the dollar. But boy, those trees that you guys have in that national forest, those are worth something. That oil offshore, that's a little, so this is what's going to happen to Cyprus, and you better keep a close eye on what's going on, because the government, when it comes time to either stick up for you or screw you, I'm pretty sure, that they would take our money in a heartbeat. I mean, they were willing to do this underhanded in Cyprus and have it voted on at 8 in the morning before anybody heard about it, and then seize the money, okay? So that's where we're going. So don't be surprised if it happens elsewhere.
What ramifications does this have to the rest of the euro and the European market?
Well, it has ramifications for everybody. Like J.P. Morgan has $28 billion invested in the periphery of the EU, not Germany or France or the big guys that are strong, in the weaker guys. So you'll see, and Goldman Sachs has, say, $4 billion invested. I think it was 4.3. So just as an investor, as a short-term trader, you might want to short J.P. Morgan, hoping that the news will drop it down $1 or $2 and you can get out and make a couple $100. Or you might want to short-term buy Goldman Sachs because they're going to have less exposure to the bad news, and money might go there for safety. You might buy Goldman Sachs long, and maybe it'll go up 3 points. And I'm talking about 200 shares, 100 shares. You go up 3 points, you make $300. Government takes about half. You get what's left. Everybody, not just the Fed, but, everybody. But the ramifications are all these banks have monies invested in Cyprus. And once you default, then you default. And this is what we've been talking about. And even people from different sides of the aisle can agree that, we can't continue spending the money that we're spending. And taxing our way out is not the answer. And guaranteed, remember the Occupy protest? Okay, suppose we take food stamps back to before President Obama, who had 35 million people on food stamps. Now we have 50. What would happen if 15 million people lost their benefits? There would be anger, and probably justified anger, because we allowed people to get used to being on the system instead of being responsible for themselves. So, what we're seeing in Cyprus should be a warning shot across the bow for us, and I guarantee you we'll pay no attention.
It's interesting that a country so small, I'm reading up some information on it, they've been used as a haven for offshore banking because it's just a place where you can stick your money. And it's amazing to me that a country so small can have such an impact, positive and negative, in this case negative, to the rest of the European market.
And think, we're talking about a country, right?
Mhm.
Okay, this country produces less than our least productive state, which is Vermont. Okay, they produce less than Vermont, and yet they're controlling the markets right now because of it won't crash the market. If they crash, they'll crash. There'll be these ripple effects to our markets, but you can pretty well be done with these all-time high days. And typically after all-time highs, you do have a 10 to 20% pullback, going almost all the way back to the Great Depression. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 10% come out of the Dow over something like this. But for Cyprus, it means you don't get your food stamps, you don't get your welfare, you don't get your free gas or whatever else stuff that you get. And now we have a nation of people who don't know how to take care of themselves.
Part of it, you think also, they're describing the banking system there in Cyprus as becoming fragile because it's a very large size of the banking system relative to the GDP.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was they made a commitment towards
8%,
that.
yeah.
To pay this. I think they made one to be like a little Cayman Island type thing and brought all this money. And a lot of the money I've heard was like Russian money, and some of those. So the Russians, that whole group, they don't want their money suddenly taxed.
No.
No.
Don't tax it. Once the government gets taxed, they get mad.
I guess what I'm trying to draw here is a reference to, the banking system is large in reference specifically to the gross domestic product. If you take it another step and look at the United States and our debt compared to what we're making, when you remember the internet bubble, where it's like, where's the beef? Okay, we want return and we want it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the 12,000-pound elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about is, when is somebody going to come to the United States and say, okay, pay up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it won't happen that way. The way that you'll know, and I base everything on is the 10-year bond, even though now it's kind of hard to base it on the 10-year bond because the feds are artificially keeping rates low. But when you start to see that, and we saw it last week, you saw that 10-year Treasury get over 2%. They've battled it back down to 1.9%. But when you start to see that 10-year note get to 2.5%, 2.8%, maybe even 3%, back where it traditionally would trade at, that's when you know that all the gasoline that we're throwing on the fire isn't working anymore. And then that's it. That's it. We used to have overnight lending rates at like 4%, 3.5%. Well, you have a big earthquake somewhere or something like that. You could shave you could cut the basis rate by 25 basis points on overnight lending. That signals to banks and to businesses that money's freer to get, And so then you start to get more business going. Consequently, you get inflation going too high. They could raise rates and make it harder to borrow the money and to slow the businesses down, to slow down inflation. We don't have any of that anymore. We're at zero.
Yeah, if you're less than one, it's hard to shave.
You just can't do it. And so we're one leg is in the casket and the other is on the banana peel, and the banana peel is slipping. Now, we probably have 2 or 3 years, but you're going to see a slow decline just because there's not enough money to pay for everything. And then those Occupy Wall Streeters are going to come back out, and then we have a problem.
What about the issue with North Korea? I'm reading something here as I was reading up on that. B-52s were flying, the U.S. is flying military training exercise with B-52 bombers over North Korea, and to kind of warn them, as they're doing their saber rattling. And in fact, they've done some imaginary attacks, projected attacks of assaults, nuclear assaults on the United States. And they're sabering, they're rattling their saber, and we're bringing out the B-52s and flying them over North Korea. This kind of reminds me of another kind of incident that happened way back when, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where, don't anybody trip here because we could have a real problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well.
What's that doing to the markets? Anything?
Not
yet?
Not yet. But the thing in Egypt is critical. The Muslim Brotherhood is in power. Mm-hmm. And we're not even selling them the F-16s and the M5 tanks. That we're giving them billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. I think it was $250 billion. And we're giving them M5 tanks and F-16 air warplanes. And their only mission is to destroy Israel. So I kind of think our foreign policy is going to be a problem coming up. But right now, everybody's focused on what happened today, because Cyprus is going to be broke on Monday if this didn't get resolved. And everybody says, kick the can down the road. Well, now we're kicking the can against the backstop, and we don't have any further to go. And God is giving this great example of what's happening in this little tiny country, and we're going to be not smart enough to pay attention to it.
Interesting. John, anything else you want to talk about the stock markets or economy? We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about estimated tax payments and other items of interest for this year, for 2012 tax year. In fact, we've got the 2012 tax guide in front of us here.
Nice.
And Robert White, an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block. Remember, Robert's going to be back here in the studios again the first and second Tuesdays of April. That would be April 2nd and 9th. So if you've been putting it off, and there's a few people out there that, I got to pay, and I really don't. I read there's somebody the other day, and it's like, I know I got to do it, but I don't want to do it. I don't like to pay.
Yes.
And so they put it up to the very, very last minute.
Well, you pay sometime. It's just whether you want to pay extra.
It's kind of like the Fram Oil guy. Remember him? You can pay me now or pay me later.
That's right.
When you pay me later, just like the Fram Oil commercial, when you pay me later, it's a whole lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Robert will be back in the studios April 2nd and 9th. We'll be talking to him again for the remainder of this show. But if you have something, a comment, a question that you would like us to talk about, you can email me that. We're watching the email right now. Dave@KGAL.com. Dave@KGAL.com. That's the same email address for the Quiznos Taste on Us giveaway. Same email address. If you got a question about quarterly payments or anything for 2012 tax year, then email it to me, and we'll include it in the conversation. This is Valley Talk, and we'll be right back.
When a horse becomes neglected and unwanted here in the Mid-Willamette Valley, the Linn County Animal Rescue steps up to help. They will be at the Northwest Horse Fair at the Linn County Fairgrounds, March 22nd through the 24th, where you can check out their donated items for sale, gift certificates, and 2 raffle items. You can buy single $1 or 6 for $5 raffle tickets for your chance at a Traeger Jr. barbecue or an Insta-Hot equine washing system. Check out Linn County Animal Rescue at the Horse Fair and visit their website, lcarhorse.org.
More Ink Printing in Albany. The same people and the same passion for printing and serving you.
I'm Mike from More Ink. At More Ink, we can make your presentations pop, your business cards connect, and your brochures become bold. Letterheads, manuals, menus, flyers, event posters, and programs. We do it all at More Ink.
Mike and his crew at More Ink are still around to get your custom projects noticed. More Ink on Sandy M. Road in the Carriage House Plaza in Albany. Visit moreincalbany.com.
Call 541-928-2675 for More Ink.
If you're looking for a place to network with employers and set the stage for a rewarding career in the future, then this is the event for you. It's the LBCC Career Fair, Thursday, April 11th. Explore career opportunities with some of the region's top employers. Learn about LBCC programs and training opportunities. Visit with agencies that provide services to job seekers. And attend free workshops to enhance your job search. If you're searching for a job or looking to move up in the workforce, don't miss the annual LBCC Career Fair on Thursday, April 11th.
Enjoy exciting equine entertainment and support the Albany Helping Hands Homeless Shelter. Friday, March 22nd, bring a non-perishable food item to the gate at the Northwest Horse Fair and get $1 off your ticket price. Food donations go to Albany Helping Hands. Celebrate the spirit of the horse at the Northwest Horse Fair and help a great cause, too. Bring your food donations for Albany Helping Hands to the Northwest Horse Fair Friday, March 22nd. Discount on gate admission only. For more information, go to equinepromotions.net.
There are a lot of things we need to talk about in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Hi, I'm Dave Adams, KGAL Radio. We want to have those conversations on this radio station live. That's what we do every Monday through Friday from 11 to noon. Maybe it's taxes, roads, government, city councils, school boards, whatever. I also want to know what you want to talk about. Email me, dave@kgal.com, and join the conversation. Valley Talk, 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. News Talk, 1580 KGAL.
Miguel de Cervantes is thrown into prison to await the Spanish Inquisition. And there he tells his fellow prisoners the story of the mad knight Don Quixote and his quest to follow the impossible dream and to honor his lady, the beautiful Dulcinea. Albany Civic Theater presents the classic musical Man of La Mancha, now playing through March 23rd. Get your tickets now at Sid Stevens Jewelers in downtown Albany or Wine Styles in Corvallis. Man of La Mancha, now playing at the Albany Civic Theater.
If it happens overnight, Eric and Gary have it live during Red Eye Radio on Smart Talk 1580 KGAL.
This is Valley Talk, back once again. We have Robert White in the studios, an enrolled tax agent for H&R Block, and John Gibson, average investment guy. Some things we're watching with Cyprus. And quite frankly, I'm watching the North Korea situation, too, to see what goes on there. That could be kind of interesting. That could be, hopefully, calmer minds will prevail, and we'll see what happens there. Right now, let's talk about taxes for 2012. Robert's telling me you're very, very busy. People, by nature, we're procrastinators, especially, like I've mentioned several times in the show before, we don't like to pay.
All right.
And the guys that file their returns January 1st are, oh, man, I've got a refund coming. I want that money now. But so what you probably have coming in your office right now is the more complicated returns of people that have put it off. And then to add to that, there was the delay in the tax code as they were wrangling with the deficit and so on.
Well, and a lot of the people that are coming in, they're organized, but they've been gathering material. They have to gather the information, and a lot of the brokerage houses that just were delayed in releasing their paperwork. So I have a large number of clients that I call them the interesting clients because it's more complex and I enjoy the complexity. They are coming in, they have everything's organized, it's filed, but they've been gathering information from their different sources, or if they've had rentals, they've had to get all that compiled. So they're busy compiling information for me because I've trained them well to get this information organized for me. So they're coming in, but they're running about 1 to 2 weeks later than normal. And then just the uncertainty that was on January 2nd has also I'm seeing more people come in they say, well, I used to do it on that software company that starts with a T and ends with an X, but I won't mention those by name. But they're saying, I'd started to look at it, but it just doesn't seem right this year, and I need someone to look at it. And so we're seeing more of that too, and in general, they're pleased that they did see us because either we've found some really nice things for them or we've avoided some issues for them.
Are they going to delay the filing date, or is it because there was a delay in the brokerage houses are getting the information out? I assume all of that is out now, or it should be.
I got mine.
Yep,
Okay.
it's out. Oh, but
So some people might assume, well, wrongly probably,
Yeah.
that, the federal government's going to move the date back because they kind of delayed us because they were still wrangling about taxes. But April 15th is still...
That is the day. That's the day, and we've mentioned this last time that if we're getting down close and it looks like someone's not going to be quite ready, then we want to do an extension. And our cardinal rule is an extension to file is not an extension to pay. Which brings us back to our discussion on withholding and estimated taxes. But so you can file an extension, and as long as if you pay 90% of the tax that is due, that you think is going to be due, you won't have any penalties. There's no issues involved. But if some people they'll file an extension, but they forget to send any money in, and there's a penalty for not paying.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody lives under a rock, or they're just or they just thought the world was going to end this first quarter. Maybe they were ones that think that the world was going to end. They came down out the mountain and okay, we're still here, so I guess I have to file my taxes. So they crawl out into the rock. They come in and things are fairly organized, and they want to file for an extension, but they still have their shoebox. And they still have this pile of documents that you have to go through. So maybe they don't really know what they need to pay. They don't know what their final estimated tax liability is going to be, or final tax liability for the federal government, or state for that matter. What do they pay?
Well, they come in, we're still going to go through the return, and we're going to do our best with what they brought us. We're sorting through the shoe boxes. I have some in my office right now. My mother just sent me the box yesterday.
Mom, what's up with you?
Well, she used to do taxes. She's organized.
Okay.
But it's 12-pound box. But we'll still go through it, and we're going to do our best to come up with an idea for pricing. I mean, that's the key thing. We'll go through the whole item, look at the numbers, and we'll still try to get organized. It might be we get to the bottom where we're just missing some key items or key things, and we can make an educated guess that will prevent our clients from really getting into any serious issues.
You don't charge by the pound, do you? Not like
No,
the butcher.
We don't charge by time or the pound. It's just purely by form.
So somebody comes in April 14th, 4:30 in the afternoon.
I've had
With
him
a shoebox.
I've had him at April 15th at 5 in the afternoon before.
Okay.
And that was interesting.
What do you tell them?
Take a deep breath, be polite.
Other than you?
We go through it and we rapidly get we do a quick assessment then. And actually on that return, it was filed. We made it. But someone came in at about 5 o'clock. It was about 5 years ago, 5 o'clock, and wanted to file that day. And we did it. But whew, it was interesting. So we had for some reason, one of our I was the preparer actually, had time to do it. But normally we'd just say we can only just do a quick extension and because you can do an extension online, it's done. And you put it, and we tell them they have to, and that person, we told them they had to go to get a check in the mail, and they had to drive to Salem because that post office was still open because it has to be postmarked that day. And
so what the check in the mail is for what?
They owed money. They owed money.
I know, but
we can. I think maybe it's $1,000.
Well, you could also think back. What did you pay last year, the year before? You can kind of get some idea.
If things haven't changed radically, that's John's a good point. If they haven't changed radically, pay what you paid last year in taxes, and that's pretty close. And that's one of kind of the general rules we get to on that underpayment penalty.
Okay, I'm throwing you curves here.
Yes, you
Let's
are.
throw another one. Let's say, lost my job, wife left, took the truck and the dog and the kids and so on and so forth. I'm living in a motor home or whatever. This is not me, folks. Okay. by the way.
Okay.
So I'm just painting a scenario here, and the guy says, I can't pay that. What happens?
There are some options. One is that one of the first options is at the time you're doing your return, there's a little box they check that you can do an immediate request for an extension of payment for 120 days. And they will they'll let us know immediately online. Yes, it's approved. No, it's not approved. And you just have to, and if you do that, you're not going to incur any penalties. There will be interest, but you won't have any penalties. And it's one of the things that pops up on our software when someone owes money. That little box lights up at the bottom that they have that option. Other than that, the IRS does have payment options or installment. If you can't pay, you let them know that, and they'll set you up an installment plan, or if there's a fee for that. If you go into an official installment plan and you have to make payments on a certain time, I have clients that don't bother with that, but they file the return. The IRS sends them the letter for not paying with an amount due, and they just turn around, write another check, and send it in. And it's the IRS, quite frankly, the people who work, I call the worker bees, the people out there, they are really pretty good people. You talk to them. If they know you're trying to get the payments in, and you're not ignoring them, because I've said before, they don't like to be ignored. Their feelings are hurt. But as long as you are responding, they understand. They understand people are having a hard time, and they will work with you. And they will work with you if you keep trying. So if you file the return, file that return, and then pay when you can, if you can, with the understanding you're going to be paying interest for not paying, but they are not going to, if you're making payments and you're really trying, they're not going to come in and seize the camper you're sleeping after your family left you.
Right. And one of the best boxes I check on my form is that I give my tax preparer permission to talk to the IRS.
Yes.
One of my estimated taxes I pay on the 15th every month, every 4 months, 4 times a year. Yeah. The IRS expects you to prove that you're right. And so I'm supposed to spend $6 on a return thing that the IRS signs and says, yes, okay, you got it here on the, email on the 15th. One year I got a letter saying that I did not, that I was late. I just had my accountant fire off a letter, and that was it. That was the end of it. I never heard from him again. But if I had written the letter, I kind of think maybe I wouldn't have had the confidence of the IRS that maybe they were wrong.
And that's a good point. We've mentioned before, I'm a licensed tax consultant, but I'm also an enrolled agent, which means I can appear before the IRS. And the other item I've noticed when I've gotten on the phone, because once I have someone's power of attorney, I get on the phone. As soon as I start talking to these people, and they know that I'm an enrolled agent, they will suddenly say, okay, we'll listen to him or her, because we certainly have, I think there's probably more women that are enrolled agents, but we will listen to that person because we're presuming since they've passed our exam, they might know something about tax, what's going on. So they'll listen to us, and if we say, look, this is the situation. They'll most commonly say, okay, fax it to us and that'll be fine. It's taken care of. Just like that. Whereas the individual is going to have a little more difficult time.
Another curveball, like throwing curves.
Yeah, I know you. I'm dodging them.
Let's say you have a situation where the same person comes in and says, you know what? I haven't want to admit this, but I haven't filed my... Folks, this isn't me, by the way. Okay? This is not...
There's a lot
Dave.
of self-guilt here, isn't
Yes,
No,
there
it's
is.
not. It's like,
Wondering.
Uncle Sam, this is not me, okay? I've already filed. I've already got my refund. Thank you very much. But let's say, because we like throwing curves at Robert today, let's say the guy comes in and, you know, the wife, the dog are gone, the kids are gone, he's singing the blues, he still has the sax, and he's singing the blues out there in his RV. But let's say he says, you know, I haven't filed for the last 2 years. Can you help me? What do you say?
That's not unusual. Sometimes it's the last 5 years or 3 years.
Okay.
And we say, yes, we can help. Absolutely. And it's important. 2 reasons you want to file is that after a certain point, the IRS will decide to file for you. And they'll take you, and they will always take the worst case scenario when they do that. They'll assume that you have no deductions. And so on paper, they have established a return for you. It's not an official filing, but they've established something so that in the future, if you suddenly have any earnings or anything, they're going to assume they're going to take those back taxes they've created that you owe, which are usually much higher than they really would be, and they're going to start pulling them from you. So we have that happen, and so what we do is we file the person's back taxes. We can go way back. It's I had without breaking confidential, I had someone come in last year that wanted me to go from 2002 forward. They really hadn't filed for a long time.
Whoa. They're not in jail?
No.
Okay.
But we so the point is that we, by filing the IRS will tell you this, by filing those prior returns, then you correct what they have done. They'll accept that, and they will reduce that back tax liability correspondingly to the new filing. So we bring them up, and this is the reason this happens is, say someone's gone along and they kind of ignored it, and maybe they've gotten past the hump and they're starting to do better, and they maybe get married, or they want to suddenly go buy a house. First thing they ask, we want your last 3 to 5 years of tax returns, and they say, oops. Mm-hmm. And that's what we get. They said, we need to get 3 to 5 years of tax returns. Or the spouse just discovered, or the future spouse just discovered that their partner hasn't filed, and that's what we really, my wife just told me I better get these done type thing. So that happens.
So that could be a deal breaker for a relationship.
Oh, boy, howdy.
Yeah.
Are these people normally working under the table or unemployed? Or because if you're working for a payroll,
it's amazing. A lot of them, they have been working, and suddenly
on payroll,
and they maybe lose their jobs, and or sometimes they just things go hard, but they just didn't get around. I had some people I've cleaned up 8, 9, and 10 returns. They get behind. They worked and they stopped working, and they start getting letters from the IRS, and they think because IRS is already taking their money that their past returns are cleared, and they're not. So more often than not, they were working, or they have been they've been working, but they just didn't file, and they get in that. It's a psychological thing. They miss 1 year, okay, and then the second year they didn't do it, and then by then they just don't want to think about it anymore.
Right.
And they hit that third year, they're not thinking about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
If I just ignore it, problem will go away.
That's right. And in the background, the IRS is just building up those, and if their money that's being withheld from their current jobs is being applied to those back return years.
Mm-hmm. So they're still way behind.
Yes.
And with the electronic tabulation and the way they track you, they can get your money. Where a couple decades ago, it might have been. I'm not giving you any ideas, folks. Okay.
Self-guilt again?
No. So
It becomes Cayman Islands.
It's very, very easy for them to find you these days. Much easier than it was a couple decades ago.
And to give you an idea how far that will go, we are seeing cases now where if you owe state taxes, they will take it from your IRS refund. Mm-hmm. Or if you've defaulted on student loans, they will come out of refunds. I've even had the state, so when people have had speeding tickets, and the state has pulled it from them. And of course, child support's a very common one,
speeding tickets.
I had one person had a speeding ticket in Eastern Oregon, another one in Polk County, and they made a comment that the tickets they suddenly got a reduced refund, and you can go in and look at where it went and paid their ticket.
Oh man, they're sharp.
They're looking for the money.
Mm-hmm. I just tell my accountant, just keep me out of jail.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pay. Just keep me out of jail because, I mean, that's all they do. And I worked at a bank processing center once where we put the checks and the statement together and mail it to you so you could balance your checks. We had all these little old ladies who were ex-IRS agents, and they would go find lost checks within our big, huge building because, you know, so-and-so didn't have one, and they could find it. They could find it, and it was amazing that their mind and your mind is just so bam, bam, bam. It's
very anal, very targeted, very Sherlock Holmes.
Anal's the wrong word.
Well, it's very focused.
Focus, like focus.
Okay. Good thing this isn't live, right? Very, very focused, very targeted.
Yeah.
Better word, don't you think?
Well, that's psychological disorder, you know.
Okay, my apologies, folks. Hey, we got a question here.
Really?
No, this isn't about the show. This is about another question about programming, so we'll take care of that later.
Okay, all right.
I just had a question.
But we had a caller.
And I thought that was about this show. So let's take a break right now. We'll be back with Robert White and John Gibson on this edition of Valley Talk, where we're talking about 2012 taxes, yours. If you do have a question, email me at dave@kgal.com, and we'll discuss it. This is Valley Talk. Be right back.
Yeah.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. Visit AutoOwners.com. And by Barbasol, America's leader for a close, comfortable shave. So lather up with Barbasol shaving cream and shave like a man. I'm Sam Litzinger, sitting in for Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network. Reporters say New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is looking out for our health again. Critics say he's become an overbearing parent. First it was supersized sugary drinks. Now it's cigarettes. More after this from Charlie.
Springtime is here. This is the perfect time to send beautiful flowers when you want to celebrate something special. Make someone smile today with a lovely bouquet from the folks at 1-800-Flowers.com. Their flowers are just gorgeous, and they're just perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, Easter, and more. I recently received their spring tulip bouquet, 30 full and vibrant tulips, all in the pastel colors of spring. And as always, these flowers are backed by a 100% smile guarantee every single time. Right now, 1-800-Flowers.com has a special limited-time offer since you listen to the Osgood File. Order the 30 spring tulip bouquet for only $30. That's $15 off the regular price. So don't wait. To get this offer on spring tulips, go now to 1-800-Flowers.com, either from your desktop or mobile device. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the page and enter my last name, Osgood, O-S-G-O-O-D. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter Osgood. Or just call 1-800-Flowers and mention Osgood.
It wasn't all that long ago you couldn't turn on a TV in this country without someone trying to sell you cigarettes.
The finest leaf tobacco, mild, refreshing menthol, and the world's most thoroughly tested filter. That's Snow Fresh Filter Cool.
We eventually decided that wasn't such a good idea, so tobacco sales were restricted. Now New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg wants to take it a step farther. He's backing a plan to make retailers keep tobacco products out of sight. Smokers or chewers would have to ask for them, kind of like you used to have to do with, say, condoms.
Now, we know that out of sight doesn't always mean out of mind, but in many cases it can, and we think this measure will help reduce impulse purchases. And if it does, it will literally save lives.
He says this is a public health issue, pure and simple.
The primary purpose is to keep young people from getting hooked on a habit that is likely to ruin their health or even end their lives at an early age.
Critics in New York say, well, we can't tell you what some critics in New York say, but the gist of it is, get off our backs. We're adults, and we should be able to make choices about what legal products we will or won't consume. Personally, I can only say I was glad when I turned 17 and moved out of the house in which my father used to smoke unfiltered Pall Malls by the carton. He died, slowly and horribly, of emphysema. That was reason enough for me to stay far away from cigarettes. The Osgood File, Sam Litzinger on the CBS Radio Network.
Are you thinking about getting new windows but aren't excited about spending 3 to 4 hours with a pushy salesperson from out of town? Hi, this is Brian at Smith Glass. We offer double and triple pane windows with a lifetime warranty for much less than those Portland or Seattle guys. Plus, we're your neighbors. Our salespeople are friendly and helpful. Visit us today on Southwest 3rd in Corvallis or at the foot of the Line Street Bridge in Albany or on the web at smith-glass.com.
On the cutting edge since 1945, Smith Glass Service.
There are many debt relief plans and scams out there, so if you find yourself with $10,000 or more in credit card debt and you just want the facts about a legitimate, government-compliant debt relief solution, then call American Credit Card Solutions for a free informational DVD that will tell you about this money-saving option in simple, easy-to-understand terminology. The DVD is free, the shipping is free, and there is absolutely no sales pitch, just the facts sent directly to you in the mail. The free informational DVD can be mailed to you today, so you can examine this amazing debt relief option in the comfort of your home with no one pressuring you to make a quick decision. Call 800-246-6611 and ask for your free DVD. This is a first-come, first-serve offer, and DVDs are limited, so call right now for your free debt relief informational DVD. 800-246-6611. That's 800-246-6611.
Home improvement will never be the same once you've heard The Money Pit. Saturday mornings on Smart Talk 1580.
Welcome back to Valley Talk. Dave Adams here. We're with Robert White, enrolled tax agent for H&R Block and average investment guy John Gibson. Glad to have you with the show. Don't forget to submit your entry to Quiznos Taste on Us. You can do that by sending me an email, dave@kgal.com, or calling the station, 451-KGAL or 926-KGAL. More conversation during the break, and some very interesting things that you need to be aware that you need to pay taxes on. And one of the conversations is what should be withheld. And we were talking about, like the Cash for Clunkers program a while back. Mm-hmm. That was income to you that you had to report as taxable income.
Yes. Just so people are aware, if you have sick pay, a lot of times I've had a client come in and they've received sick pay, disability pay for a year because they're out of a job. Well, that was taxable income. They didn't realize that until they got the letter from the IRS. Unemployment, that is taxable income. Gambling, we've talked about before. That you report. The IRS you're supposed to report all gambling winnings.
What about food stamp benefits?
That's not a benefit. That's not. Another one that people sometimes they do, alimony. And the reason, and so this goes back. What this is really leading into your W-4. This is where you fill out for your employer to have an idea that you withhold the right amount of money. So at the end of the year, you break even when you reconcile.
Right.
And so you have the ability on your W-4 to set up an amount. They have a chart where based on your experience, if you're married, not married, number of dependents. But you can also put an additional amount of money that you want to withheld in addition to the standard percentage based on filing status. So I have a couple of clients that they use their W-2 from their employment to also take out an additional amount, set dollar figure we've calculated, so that'll be part of their withholding that will cover their taxable alimony they receive.
Oh, I see.
So in other words, you can use your W-2s, your W-4, your withholding to adjust perhaps this other part we refer to as the passive income. You maybe use your job to use that to take extra money out. This is a way of avoiding quarterly or estimated taxes. You can take more out of your regular day job to have that withheld to cover your tax liability at the end of the year. And I have people come in, I tell them, come in and see me in June, July. Let's run some, we have our program that we can see how you're doing on your withholding. If we need to kick it up, we can. If we need to reduce it, we can, to avoid that estimated tax plan. But if we made it comments again, estimated tax plans, a good rule of thumb, if you're going to do it, divide your liability by 4 and you make it in fourths. Pay it, there's set dates. But I've mentioned a couple times, the general rule. And that is, the general rule is, do you pay penalty or not? And if you owed more than $1,000 that you had to pay an additional $1,000 when you file the return, this is also for Oregon, it's federal and state, then you may have a penalty. However, if you withheld at least 90% of your current tax liability, you withheld it, even though you're paying more than $1,000, there won't be a penalty. Or if you withheld at least 100% of what you paid in taxes previous year, there won't be a penalty. Now, these percentages are much lower for farmers and fishermen because just by the nature of their business, life is scary. I mean, their numbers are 2/3 instead of
John mentioned something very interesting a moment ago. Let's say you're at a company downsized and you had a bunch of accrued sick leave and time, and they just paid you off as part of the early retirement package. All of a sudden, you've got, at the time you thought, boy, I've got, $30,000 that came my way that I wasn't expecting. How does that play into the picture?
You really hope, most of the companies, when they do that, will do a withholding. What you have to be careful, though, now this is another case on these W-4s. Let's say you have two things can get you in trouble, because a W-4 is designed, if you use the strict tables, based on the income on that, for that job on that W-2, is at the end of the year, you will break even. But let's say you have several small jobs, and they're all taking out a small amount because they don't think you'll owe much tax at the end, but when you add those three jobs together, suddenly you have and the worksheet for W-4s takes that into account. Sometimes you'll get cases where you have two family members. They are earning a 10% rate, and the other members earning a 10% rate. You add their incomes together, and they're at a 15, or maybe one's at a 10 and one's at a 15, but at the end of the year, it's a 25% bracket. So they haven't been withholding enough. So you can change a W-4 during the year. It's not just once a year when your employer hands it to you. You can change it at any time, and they are supposed to put that into place within 30 days.
But how does an employee know that?
They come and see a tax professional to help them. Or they can...
well, hopefully their HR department would...
The HR departments can do it too. You can pick up the W-4s, or how to do the calculations.
Yeah, we've got a few more questions. Let's take one more break, and we'll be back with Robert White and John Gibson here on Valley Talk in just a moment.
Banking these days can be pretty impersonal. You've got your big banks, your internet banks, your do-it-yourself banks, and your too big to fail banks. That's wwilliam you might be interested in an alternative. Willamette Community Bank. Hello, this is Bill Higbee, residential lender. You deserve better service without sacrificing a thing. So if you're feeling underserved, make the switch to the best banking option out there, with branches in Albany and Lebanon.
Willamette Community Bank. Service like no other. We promise. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $3.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts building.
Alternative rock group Collective Soul. Live in concert at the Lynn County Fair in Albany, Friday, July 19th. Concert is free with your general admission ticket. Limited reserve seating is just $15. Collective Soul. Go online to lynncountyfair.com to purchase your tickets today.
Now you can manage your printers as easy as you manage your copiers. Managed print services from Ultrex. Maintenance, toner cartridges, and repairs, all in just one monthly payment. Hewlett-Packard, Lexmark, Brother, just to name a few. All you have to do is buy the paper. It's that easy. Just call Ultrex today and ask about their managed print services. Ultrex Business Solutions, your locally owned and operated copier company, proudly supporting our community. Ultrex Business Solutions.
You've seen the Cash Cab on TV. Now win prizes with a brand new cab service in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Introducing Call Me a Cab Taxi Service. Get your picture taken with Call Me a Cab Taxi Service. Post it on their Facebook and you can win a prize. Treating seniors and everyone with respect and dignity in a courteous, comfortable, affordable ride. Call 541-979-TAXI. That's 979-8294. Like them on Facebook. Call-me-a-cab. An Albany Chamber member.
Science and Common Sense. Dr. Bill Wattenberg will surprise you Sunday nights live on Smart Talk 1580.
Dave Adams, Valley Talk. We're talking taxes again. Again, the 2nd and the 9th of April, 1st and 2nd Tuesdays of the month are the next times that Robert White, an enrolled tax agent with H&R Block, he's going to be in the studio. We wanted to do that the next 2 visits before April 15th. One of the things, a question that I had, kind of joking with Robert off the air, which we should talk about because some people might, this might catch them off guard. Let's say, another one of Dave's curveballs here.
Yes.
Let's say somebody did a lot of work on the side. They were paid in cash. They didn't put it in the bank. They put it in a shoebox, and they just paid from that, and so there was really no record of it. But yet they tell you as a tax preparer, hey, I've got, $5,000-$10,000 in cash that they just paid me, and I just cashed it. I just kept it in a shoebox, and I don't want to report it. What's your answer?
Well, first of all, since they've told me they have it, I have to say we have to include it. And they say, no, I'm not going to. And then I would say, then I will be unable to complete your return. I cannot sign your return knowing that. I've been made aware of it. And by law, I have to report it, or otherwise I will not sign that return. And people say, why not? Well, it's my license. It's my job. So I'm licensed by the IRS, and I'm licensed by the state of Oregon. When I sign a return, I am saying that is prepared legally, and to the best of my knowledge, I've adhered to all codes. And if someone's just told me they have $10,000 they didn't want to report,
and that makes you complicit.
That's right. I'm not going. It's not worth it to me. They can walk. They can take a walk.
Understand. Just wanted to put that out there. Let's talk about another thing that came up with in some news.
Yes,
broadcasts.
This came out, and it's. I know it's hard to believe, but there's actually a little negative press out there. What happened? We've talked about the tuition credits. They were delayed by the IRS. They were delayed by the IRS doing the forms, and then we actually we submitted them. The IRS used H&R Block as a test market for it.
We have 2.5 minutes. Go ahead.
We can get it done. The bottom line was that we started processing them 2 weeks ago, approximately. We started hearing from our clients. They were getting letters from the IRS saying they couldn't process it. They needed more information, and it was an issue with H&R Block. And we had to find it from them, not the IRS. Bottom line is, our clients received these letters. They were concerned. They were upset, which they should have been. We went to the IRS over the weekend, that particular weekend, and after some heavy discussion, apparently, because we're the largest preparer in the nation, the IRS admitted, yes, it wasn't your fault your software didn't work. We changed some of the explanations. We didn't tell you we changed something. And the answer said, we will accept all H&R Block returns. There will be no delays. Your clients do not have to send all this extra information in. Well, the first part of the story is what hit the news, that there was a problem. Not the part that the IRS admitted it was their mistake in the long run. And so we got some negative press, and we've been working with our clients, assuring them their returns were prepared correctly, and it's moving forward. But they were delayed a couple weeks because the IRS had an issue but didn't want to tell us about it.
Okay. Hey, we enjoyed having you here on the show, and we're coming up to something we do need to remind you is that we will not have a Valley Talk tomorrow. We will run Dennis Prager because we're going to be at the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce. Hasso Herring is a good friend of the station, is going to be there talking about his life after the newspaper, which also includes here at KGAL Radio. So I invite you to check into that. We're going to all be there, including myself, so we will not have a Valley Talk tomorrow. We're going to be at the Chamber in the luncheon, listening to Hasso and hearing what he's been involved in, including his time here on Valley Talk and his commentaries that he does for KGAL Broadcasting and KGAL and Eads Broadcasting. So, Robert, next time you're going to be back is the 2nd and the 9th of April, the 2 weeks before April 15th. John Gibson, thanks for being with us today. I'm looking forward to keep an eye on Cyprus, see what's going to happen there.
Yep.
Last chance for entries for Quiznos Taste on Us, Dave at KGAL.com. Get them in, and you have a good day, my friend.